Today we're here to celebrate International Women's Day. And who would be better than artist, mother, and educator Tereza Bušková, who focuses on international cooperation, bringing together different cultures, and also focusing on motherhood and womanhood in general. Tereza will be here discussing her work with Dr. Nicola Baird.
Thank you so much, Jana and Tereza, for having me. It's both such a pleasure and a privilege to be able to take part this evening in such an in-depth discussion of Tereza's work in celebration of International Women's Day. As Jana mentioned, I curated an exhibition at Ben Uri in 2019 titled Czech Roots to Britain, designed to celebrate the contribution of Czech emigre artists to Britain, which featured Tereza's work. And in 2021, I presented Clipping the Church, the first of the three projects we'll be discussing this evening, as part of a program of events organised by the Insiders Outsiders Festival. And I've since followed her career closely, so as I said, it's a real pleasure to be here. We'll loosely structure our conversation by focusing in turn on the clipping of the church, hidden mothers, and little queens, multidisciplinary projects, participatory projects conceived and orchestrated by Tereza and performed in 2016, 2021, and 2023 respectively. But as you'll see, there are common threads linking all three, including, among other things, the exploration of the mother figure, the folkloric and ritualistic, as well as community, identity, and belonging. So I'm sure we'll find ourselves jumping around quite a bit.
Clipping the Church is a project which had quite a big impact on my life and my future work. And the two projects that followed from Clipping the Church very much linked to each other. They linked to each other. They kind of developed and begun their journey from clipping, which was the first large community art project that I have accomplished, and it started off in Birmingham Library in 2015-16, where I came across a book on traditions and customs from West Midlands, and there was an image of people holding hands around the church, and that image was a very old print, and I was immediately drawn to that image and started to read more about clipping, and I was very intrigued. What is clipping the church? Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just that it seems like you came across that by chance, or were you kind of researching something specifically related to kind of...
No, I came across the image by chance, and I often when it comes to my work, I use my kind of inner feeling and intuition, and I immediately envisioned this happening and making it happen in Birmingham. So I started to research a little bit more about this custom that used to happen in Birmingham. And it's an old English custom, Anglo-Saxon.
And it's kind of a celebration of coming together and...
Mm-hmm. So when I researched about clipping the church, it said that it's linked to Mothering Sunday. And when in the past, when young apprentices were sent away from their families, they would only get one day a year to reunite with their family members. And on this day, they would go to their local church with their family. They would bring flowers, violets, to the...
Always
to the
violets?
mom.
Oh.
Yes. And they would then go to a service in the church, and then they would all step outside of the church hold hands and perform a ritual while singing songs around the church. So I was immediately drawn to the kind of powerful symbol of creating a circle and to holding hands with strangers and to really bring communities together through this ritual. And I thought it's just very powerful act to create. And then when I researched more and I looked at other sort of rituals from not just UK but other Central Eastern European customs and rituals, and under the kind of topic of clipping, and some places would clip the whole entire village.
Oh wow!
And it would be done for prosperity and to bring good wishes to the place. I wanted to bring Slavic Slavic identity to clipping, and during that time I found out that in a small town called Hluk in Czech Republic, they have this special ritual by making over 300 pastries in the town for occasions like wedding or funerals, and they would then cover this wooden construction with these pastries.
Wow.
And carry it through the town, and then all of these pastries would be shared amongst the guests. And I discovered, actually, I know this pastry because this pastry was made by my grandma and then my mum. And when I looked at the history of this pastry, in Czech, Boží milosti, in English, God's mercy, but I prefer the name celestial crusts, I found out that this Slavic pastry was made specifically for mothers after giving birth, to give them strength. And there was something that I was really interested in because of clipping the church, celebrating motherhood and womanhood. And this was the kind of starting point for my practice to really to bring the mother figure in the front by involving the community in making salto decorations, which were then hung on the facade of the church and also carried in the actual procession, tied onto a red ribbon. And I did a workshop in hospice, in local school, primary school, in the church. We did it.
Yeah, so there were over 200, yeah, wow.
Yeah, over 200 locations. And the name, Hidden Mothers, comes from, or was what inspired me, is this Victorian trend called Hidden Mothers, where exposure time took so long during photographing family members. Mothers wanted to show off their new babies, but they didn't want the baby to be in the, they didn't want themselves to be in the image. They wanted the child to be sort of
center,
center. So the mother hid herself, disguised herself, often underneath a cloth or behind the furniture.
It's amazing, isn't it?
So the child stays calm and on the mother's lap. And I thought, I'll use this Victorian trend as a metaphor for my project Hidden Mothers. And I felt, mothers now are, very much hidden. And I wanted to focus on migrant refugee women who are more isolated, who are less visible, and I wanted to celebrate them and in motherhood, in general. So
workshops, working with the community and then a kind of performance.
Inviting local women to be involved in the stitching of the canopy. So Little Queens is a ancient sort of ritual which empowers, it celebrates young sort of girls, nature. It's about adolescence. So often young girls.
It's a Czech folklore traditional,
Czech Moravian tradition. Young girls are dressed in white and they walk through their village, through the town, to bless people with branches which have been blessed the night before in their church. And that's what it is.
I'll just make one quick observation before we open up to the floor, because I'm sure lots of people have questions for Tereza. But given that your work deals with identity, community, belonging, home, I thought that the showing of that homeland shopfront was very poignant, wasn't it? The fact that it was all shut up and
there was my son.
Oh right, with the ball. Yeah. Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions for Tereza?
Could you please say a lot more about the symbolism on the houses, outside the houses? You only touched upon one, and it would be really interesting to know about the others.
Are these the houses in Chichmani village?
Yes.
All right. It's the entire village. With these timber cottages with hand-painted symbols.
Outside, that's painted outside.
Each symbol has sort of different meaning, like the 4 elements of water, fire, or woman, or the female and the male symbol. There's so many of different meanings and symbols and interpretations. Water, or a laugh, or the arrows are my favorite, bearing of evil spirits. But I then found out that they were also not just for these cottages, but often other rituals took place when building homes. People engraved symbols into the beams, wooden beams in the cottages, or they inbuilt coins or even dead cats in the structure of the house for good luck. And also the women from the village of Chichmani then used the designs, the patterns in their clothing, in their folk costumes.
And again, on behalf of BCSA, I would like to thank both TEREZA Bušková for making it, but also to Nicola, who prepared amazing questions. And I think we could sit here, talk, and listen to you two talk for hours on end. I have to say, I don't think we wanted to end. Unfortunately, we do have to, so perhaps we can continue. But thank you very much, both of you.